Good afternoon, my name is Yohanes. Today, I want to present my research proposal with the title The Use of Video Podcast in Teaching Speaking. First, introduction. Speaking as one of the fundamental skills in language learning plays a pivotal role in enabling learners to communicate effectively and confidently in the target language. The development of effective language teaching methodologies has always been of paramount importance in the field of education. According to Barani, one of main concerns of the most language teachers is how to help language learners to develop satisfying language proficiency. Teaching speaking can often be a challenging endeavor as it involves not only linguistic knowledge but also the ability to convey ideas, emotion, and cultural nuances. The importance of effective speaking skills in the realm of language learning cannot be overstated. Proficiency in speaking is not only an essential component of the language acquisition but also a vital tool for communication and cultural integration. Here is the problem of the study. Is there any significant effect of using YouTube podcasts on student speaking skills? And then, a review of related literature. Definition of speaking skill. Speaking skills refer to the abilities and techniques a person uses when communicating verbally. These skills are essential for effective and clear communication. According to Leon, speaking is one of the most important skills to be developed and enhanced as means of effective communication. Speaking skill is regarded one of the most difficult aspects of language learning. Many language learners find it difficult to express themselves in spoken language. Speaking is also a multisensory activity because it involves paralinguistic features such as eye contact, facial expression, body language, tempo, pause, voice quality change, and pitch variations. And next, podcasts and types of podcasts. A podcast is a modern digital technology that can be used to effectively teach and learn language. According to Robinson, the term podcast is a combination of two words, pod, meaning the name of the popular MP3 player, and the broadcasting means the act of broadcasting. Podcasts, as he defined them, are web-based audio or video files that can be freely downloaded to a computer and listen to on computer or many per second playback device that supports MP3 files. There are various types of podcasts available on the internet. Currently, 3 types of podcasts are being produced in widely use, which are distinguished by the format of the content. First, audio podcast, second, enhanced podcast, the third, video podcast. The most popular and easiest to use is the audio podcast. It only contains audio and requires a small amount of storage space. And then the use of podcasts in teaching speaking. Podcasts serve as a powerful tool for enhancing speaking skill in education. Firstly, they provide authentic listening practice by offering real life audio content with diverse accent, speaking speeds, and natural language use. This exposure helps students develop better listening skills and an ear for native speakers' communication style. Secondly, podcasts serve as valuable speaking models showcasing effective skills like clear pronunciation, articulation, and prosody through host and guest. Students can learn from these models and incorporate them into their own speaking. Moreover, the wide range of topics conveyed in podcasts allows for content relevance, aligning with students' interests and motivation active engagement. Additionally, podcasts promote independent learning, enabling students to choose content matching their proficiency level and personal interests. Therapy, increasing motivation. Furthermore, podcasts expose students to new vocabulary and expression in context, expanding their language repertoire for more effective self-expression. Pronunciation and intonation practice are also facilitated as students mimic native speakers in podcasts. Lastly, podcast content can be a basic for classroom discussion, group activities, or brain work, encouraging students to say opinions, summarize content, and engage in conversation related to the podcast topics. Overall, podcasts offer a multi-phase approach to fostering speaking skills and engaging in relevant manner. And here is the methodology. In this research, the writer will apply a quasi-experimental study. Quasi-experimental study is a research design that shares some similarities with experimental research but lacks one or more critical elements of a true experimental design, such as random assignment of participants to groups. Quasi-experimental studies are often used when it is not possible or ethical to conduct a true experimental, typically due to constraint in the research setting or the nature of the variables being studied. In a study, there are two variables, independent and dependent variable. The independent variable is the podcast, and then the dependent variable is the effectiveness of the podcast in teaching speaking. In addition, this current study will apply pre and post-test design. And then population and sample. The population of the research is the whole subject that has certain qualities and characteristics. A population is defined as all members of any well-defined class of people, event or object in this research. The population is all the English students in class 2021A. The total number of the students is 27. And the second is sample. For the technique of the sampling, the writer used random sampling to select them. The research used tutoring technique to pick the sample of this research to avoid bias. According to Acharya, in this method, every individual has equal chain of being selected. Here is the instrument of data collection. In order to collect the data, the researcher needs an instrument. The instrument of this research was a test. A test is a method of measuring a person's ability, knowledge, or performance in a given domain. In the research, tests will be used to assess and measure students' learning outcomes and cognition in terms of their mastery of teaching materials according to educational and instructional goals. The researcher will use a pre-experimental study with a pre-test and post-test design, which means that this testing is done before treatment and after treatment. And then the technique of data collection. In the research, the technique which are used by the researcher to collect the data are pre-test and post-test. The first is pre-test. It is the test which is given to the students in the beginning of the course. This test is given to the class before any treatment. The purpose of this test is to know the students' achievement in speaking skill. The second is post-test. It is a test which is given to the students in the end of course. This test is also given to the class, but this test is given to the students after the treatment. The purpose of this test is to assess 27 stage progress and to get the information of the student's achievement in speaking skill after being given the treatments. Okay, that's all our material. Thank you.